All right, Tyler, thank you for being with us here. This is our second episode of The Reality of Real Estate, where we kind of bring real estate agents in and talk to them and figure out their struggles and what they love about their job, and also kind of just updates in the real estate world. So we have Tyler St. Louis on our podcast. And Tyler, can you go ahead and introduce yourself and tell me a little more about your business?
Yeah, I'm Tyler St. Louis. I am an agent at Remax Heritage. We have 3 offices around the city in Kansas City, Northland, where I'm at, then Blue Springs and Lee Summit. I believe we also got one out we just got another one out in Lone Jack or something. But I am the former director of agent development. That's when I met you, is when I was doing the whole training thing. Yep. And I now started my own team, the Alethea Homes Group, and just kind of been doing it for 8 years and just trying to do the best I can.
Yeah. Awesome. Walk me through how it's been having a team and having to kind of lead there. And
yeah, so that's been an interesting journey for me personally. I started the team in 2021 and hired a girl right away under my wings, and then unfortunately went through some family. Mom got diagnosed with cancer and went through all that. So that kind of just pumped the brakes. So we're kind of back on the reel of figuring out what the next step is. And I do think I want to get another agent underneath me in regards to getting the team thing back up and going. But right now it's just me.
Just you right now.
Trying to figure it all out.
Nice. Yeah. There's nothing wrong with that. Solopreneur.
Yeah, right.
I think that's the term for that. So that's awesome. So I know you let's talk about a little bit about what you do outside of real estate. I know you're a wrestling coach, right? Are you still doing that?
Yeah, so I coached at the Guadalupe Center High School, not this past season, but the season before that. And I've coached wrestling in the area for 10 years and just been involved in different gyms and organizations along that line.
That's awesome. So you volunteer there?
I started out as a volunteer, and then they had a paid assistant coach position that I took on, and it's an interesting situation in regards to just a school in general. I'm from Platte County, so it's a very different cultural experience when 95% of the student population is Latino, so I don't speak Spanish. But I'll be at practice and they're talking about me and I don't even know what they're saying about me, but it's good to give back and be involved in those kids' lives, because it's just it's a different way than I grew up. It's something culturally that I'm not exposed to, but it kind of humbles you a little bit.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's really cool that you do that and you have that opportunity. So I guess then my next question for you is, how has real estate and wrestling kind of gone together for you? Have you learned anything from wrestling to take into the real estate, since you grew up as a wrestler?
Yeah, I think it's just like anything else in life. You got to have a vision or a mindset or a set of values that you want to abide by, and discipline is one of those ones that I think no matter what you're doing in life is going to carry you a long way. And so it's being able to dial in and develop those, I don't know if you've ever read the book Atomic Habits, but it's like habit stacking. You just wake up every day, you have this routine, you go through these motions sort of thing, but they're all to make you better.
Yeah.
Whether it's as a wrestler or a person or as a real estate agent, it's stacking those redoable habits over and over again that's going to lead to success.
Yeah. Have you seen a lot of success in the real estate industry because you've developed those skills?
Yeah, I'm kind of a lone wolf a little bit. I kind of operate on my own realm. I had some great mentors, Greg Coons, who kind of took me under his wing when I when I got my license 8 years ago. He's the reason for my success, but he's kind of the guy that taught me that same exact. He was a military guy and veteran, and was just if you just wake up every day and stack these things and get these things going, you're gonna find success eventually. And again, whether it's been wrestling or real estate, I've found the same to be true.
Yeah, that's awesome. So 8 years ago, what got you into real estate?
A friend of mine's sister was an agent. I had worked a slew of sales jobs, from pharmaceuticals to education software, and then kind of just fell back into my world of, my degree was exercise sports science, but that was just because I couldn't get into the business school at UNC.
Yeah.
So I had to make a little shift. But, I was young. I didn't know what I wanted to do. Even business was just I'm going to pick that because,
you don't know.
I'm supposed to go to college. That's what I'm supposed to do next. So when that didn't work out, I just chose exercise sports science because it was something I was passionate about. And then, after a few sales roles, I had fallen back into starting my own training business, and
Nice.
I was kind of missing the sales professional side of life. And so my friend's sister was an agent and asked me to be on her team.
Yeah.
That's kind of where I got my license. That's how I started.
That's very cool.
I went to college.
Okay.
I got my degree.
Nice.
I couldn't get into
The business school.
Yeah. North Carolina, University of North Carolina is one of the top 5 public schools in the
Gotcha.
nation, and their business school's like
Top of the line.
for public schools.
Yeah.
And
Gotcha.
I just wasn't smart enough. I mean, I also just wasn't probably dedicated enough at the time. I didn't really know what I was doing. I was 18 years old. And moved. If I didn't go to Mizzou, I wanted to go East Coast or West Coast.
Gotcha.
I wanted to get away from the Midwest.
No, I don't blame you there. It's the weather here is not for me. I'm ready to. The 4 seasons is nice and all, but that when it gets really cold.
The drastic, like I tell people all the time when I
Yeah.
travel, I'm like, this is one of the few places in the world where in the summer it'll be 100 degrees Fahrenheit, in the winter it'll be -6. It's like there's literally 100 Fahrenheit degree difference between like the extremes of summer and winter in the Midwest. It's not fun.
Yeah, I hear you. What are people's reactions that move here from out of state?
Yeah.
Like either on the East Coast or the West Coast. When you tell them that, what's kind of their reaction?
I think they're surprised.
Yeah.
They're thinking 4 seasons, but I don't think that they're thinking of the drastic differences of what really happens. But again, I tell people all the time, Kansas City's still one of the most affordable places to live in the country. Like price per square foot, like you can't. You got to go to like Des Moines or Omaha or whatever. It's cheaper to live here, price per square foot, than Bentonville, Arkansas.
That's crazy.
And a lot of people don't realize that, but it's like that's why people are coming here.
Yeah.
Like it's like still. Whether it's the drastic differences in temperatures or whatever the case might be, it's like Kansas City's still a growing city, and it's not going to stop, I don't think, anytime soon.
Yeah, that makes me nervous. Kind of like it how it is, but everybody's kind of starting to figure that out now, and we're getting a lot of people to move in.
I call it job security.
Yeah, that's true for you. It definitely is job security. So I guess that helps out for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. Okay. So I guess that leads into, as far as like, what are you doing? How are you obtaining those outside clients? Like, how does that look for you in your business to get those people that are moving in?
Yeah, for me, it's a lot of social media and just staying on top of my, like I said, going back to those habits, whether it's sending out an email campaign, whether it's doing my videos every 2 weeks, whatever the case might be, it's just making sure I'm out there. I think there's like 13,000 real estate agents in Kansas City, and there's only 6,000 houses on the market. So if you have one listing, you're already in the top like 45% of agents. Man. But like the barrier to entry to be a real estate agent isn't hard. Mm-hmm. It's really not. You don't even have to have a high school degree to do it. Wow. But like you take a class, you pass a test, you take another class, you pass it. I don't know if there's another test, but it's been 8 years. But the reality of it is that like, the barrier to entry isn't hard. It's just being consistent with those, again, whether it's the every 3 weeks sending out an email campaign, whether it's doing the social media post. Right. Those are the small things that go a long way. It's like, I like to say you give to the universe what's going to give back. Yeah. It's like if you're not putting in the work, you're not going to get those clients.
Yeah, absolutely. So. Yeah, that's a good point. So you mentioned, you said there's 13,000 real estates in Kansas City. What do you do to separate yourself? Social media might be one of those, but how do you like shape and structure your business to separate yourself from those other agents? Yeah,
I think one of the talking points we had on here was regards to my belief system and myself. And that's like, I don't want to be the guy on the sign. I want to be the guy behind the sign. Mm. And I think, again, that goes back to kind of some core values that I have of that servant leadership that we talked about earlier. And like, who am I going to follow? Yeah. Who's going to be the foundation that I want to follow personally? Yeah. And if I can't answer that and say that it's me, then I don't feel like I'm doing a good job. Right. So when it comes down to separating myself, it's always like, put me in front of them. Yeah. Let me talk to them. Yeah. If they don't hear me and know my story and know my life and know that I'm going to negotiate for them better than anybody else, I'm not just going to treat them well. I'm going to treat the other clients on the other side and that agent well. A lot of times we get lost in this competition mindset as salespeople and real estate agents that, dude, just treating people as humans sometimes goes so far for me. like in my business. Like
Absolutely.
just calling the other agent and just being respectful. Like it's crazy to say, but it goes a long way in this day and age. And like, the majority of agents are females, and like this weird dynamic that it's like I get on the phone with female agents and just like the level of respect that I have for them as women in general, like it goes a long way.
Yeah.
Man. They answer my calls a lot faster. They respond to my texts, and it's just that level of respect. But then you get these other guys that are like want to make everything super competitive, and it's like, dude, if it's not a win-win for both sides, this is just going to be a miserable experience, and it doesn't need to be. Like, we can both figure this out. And so I would say just that respect I have for every agent I pick the phone up, because I know they've done the work. If they've got a listing, like I just said, they're in the top 45%, so I know they're doing some work. But, like, we got to treat each other with respect a little bit,
Yeah, I totally agree with you. And I've kind of seen that in our business, and what we focus on is being respectful and communicating clearly and, just doing the right thing.
Well, and I think that's why we connected when we first met.
Absolutely.
It's like we've been, distant friends and companions, if you will, for almost 3 years now. But it's like there's that level of respect for each of us.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. As kind of people like stories, everybody likes a good story. So
I got a lot of them, bro.
Yeah, well, I'd love for you to share with me and everybody else kind of a story when you kind of went above and beyond for your client, and kind of talk about a win with one of your clients.
Okay, I'll talk about Krista Steinbach. She wants me to mention her or not, but she's getting ready. They're about to have a baby and trying to sell their house now and buy another house. But I remember when I first helped her buy her house, it was back in like 2021 when the market was just insane. Rates were super low. Inventory was super low. And it was a for sale by owner. She was a single gal working with people with disabilities, just a good person, like a good heart, good family.
Awesome.
And a lot of agents won't work with for sale by owners because it's a little bit extra work. It's not like super difficult, but it is a little more work. And so I just remember, we had that whole lawsuit settlement thing about like whether commissions were negotiable or whatever, all that stuff. But it's like, I remember that specific deal. I was able to get her the win on that one in a multiple offer situation on a FSBO by negotiating my commission down. And, that's not ideal, but like to get her that house, it was all worth it, man. Yeah. It was so fun, like to tell her that our offer was accepted. And there were some things that were wrong with the house. I mean, we had to buy present condition, and it was an older house, and there was some sewer line issues and stuff that we had to work through down the road. But like, that's just home ownership also. It's like people think that everything, you want things to be as perfect as you can when you move in. But at the end of the day, you got to maintain this thing. You got to take care of it. But, that was a huge W. And now she's married and about to have her first kid in a couple months, and they're trying to buy and sell at the same time. And it's just that, giving in to get back.
Yeah.
It's like you said, you give it to the universe and it's going to come back to you. And I'm just so happy for them because they trusted me. They trusted me when like they was like, I want this house. What do we got to do to get it? And I was like, we got it.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's a huge testimony to you and how you do business, because there's going to, correct me if I'm wrong here, but not a lot of people will lower their commission to get the deal done. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct. Not many people will. Yeah. And a lot of the real estate coaches and everyone out there will tell you to not do that and whatever. But it's like every situation's different, so sometimes certain situations take certain sacrifices, and if that's what it takes to win and it's just a couple $100 or whatever the case might be, it's like, I'm going to do that to get my client the win.
Absolutely.
So, that's just what it boils down to.
Yeah, that's awesome. And that's, I just don't, I think that speaks so loudly to like your character and who you are. And, I'm assuming they're just going to use you forever, and then they're going to tell everybody about you.
Oh, yeah. I helped their brother buy a house. Their parents use me now. It's like, but I mean, I'll be honest. I don't even know if it was the commission cut that won the deal.
Yeah.
I just know that we won the deal.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah,
like, and
absolutely.
like that was like one of the things that, you know, I try to show my clients is like, again, I don't want to be the guy that's just on a sign or on a card. Like, I want to be the guy behind it.
Yeah.
I want you to be able to stand on that and trust that he's going to have your best interest in mind the whole time.
It's powerful. Is that kind of your saying that you're going with, the guy behind the sign?
Yeah, it's kind of like my mantra is like, because I don't put my picture on any of my signs or anything. I used to not even put my picture on my card, but that's just because, you know, I want to stand on this, not on this. You know, like, I'm a good looking dude. I'm not afraid to admit it, but like at the same time, it's not about, it's about, are you going to stand on business? You know, and like,
absolutely,
we're going to stand on business, bro.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, I think, you know, that's cool. Okay, so kind of staying on that topic of working with people, how do you like working with people in the Kansas City metro area?
Like, how do I like living and working in KC Mo
and
for
all
sure?
that.
Yeah. I mean, I love Kansas City. When I was mentioning before, when I left to go to college, I went all the way to North Carolina.
Yeah.
And I remember I graduated and it was like, okay, well, don't have a job, so I guess I'll move back home with the parents. And so I did, but like when I came back, I didn't want to stay. I was either going to go back to North Carolina or get out to the West Coast. And like, here I am 10 years, 13 years later, and like, I can't leave because it's just, there's so much stuff going on here. The city itself has just exploded in that time period, going back to, you know, it kind of all really started when we got the MLS All-Star game right before we went on our World Series run back in like 2013, 2014. And then from there, it's just kind of taken off, you know, and next summer we're hosting the World Cup, and we've got the first stadium ever in the world for a female professional sports organization. That's insane. Like, that's history.
It's nice,
and
too.
It's cool. It's really cool. And, I mean, that whole riverfront is developing so well.
Absolutely.
They're doing such a good job with that. And they've done a really good job with a lot of parts of the city, which is why I haven't been able to leave. Because, again, like I was saying before, it's still one of the most affordable places to live in the country. But you have the food, you have the entertainment, you have the things that are coming here. It's like the city's still growing. It's still popping off, if you will. But it's been hard for me to leave just because of the affordability and just the things that are going on. It's like, you're not going to get this experience for this price anywhere else in the world.
Yeah. Kansas City's definitely a hot spot for sure. Kind of leading into that, let's talk about our sports teams a little bit.
Okay.
City. Are you a Chiefs fan?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you're a
Big
Chiefs fan.
Chiefs
I'm not a Chiefs fan, so I'm going to go ahead and throw that disclaimer out. But tell me what you think about like the sports team and how that's kind of affected the city.
You know, the team that's making the most noise right now is honestly either the Chiefs or the KC Current, that women's soccer team down there in the riverfront. They've done a lot of really good stuff with that down there. But the Chiefs are fun, man. The draft's coming up this week, so we gotta. Is it start today?
I think it
today.
does.
Yeah,
I think
it starts
it does.
first rounds tonight or tomorrow, I think. But
It's actually in Lambeau this year.
Yeah,
I'm
it
a
is.
Packers
Oh,
fan.
you're a
So,
Packers
yeah. So
well, I feel worse for you.
it's pretty good to be consistent, you know, every year. I haven't been over the hump since 2011, but you know, we're pretty consistently good.
Yeah, you're consistently good. Sounds
have
like
to-
the Chiefs before Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah. Well, I don't know about that.
Alex Smith, we were good for a long time.
Oh, let's go back to Matt Castle days now. Let's not forget
What
about
Elvis
that.
Gerbach?
A lot of closet Chiefs fans. I'll tell you that from my life growing up, and then everybody comes out of the closet. So
Yeah,
it's funny.
They all come out of the woodworks, but I was around for those days too.
Yeah. Were you as big a fan back then as you are now?
No, but that part of that is the lack of Patrick Mahomes. See, I'm a big competitor, so like, there's a certain edge certain competitors have. You know, there's not many athletes that are at a level to have that killer instinct.
Absolutely.
You know? And that was always my biggest problem with Alex Smith. It was like, he was a great quarterback. He put up great numbers, but he just didn't have that killer instinct, you know. And, you know, you see the Patrick Mahomes and the Michael Jordans, and there's a lot of guys that have it. You know, I would even say LeBron James, Kyrie Irving, some of those other big athletes. I mean, Aaron Rodgers had it. I mean, like, these guys that Tom Brady, obviously. It's just like that instinct to, like, win.
Yeah.
And I just never felt it with anyone else on the Chiefs roster until we got Patrick, and that's been like just fun. I don't take it for granted. I'm like grateful every day that we got that dude, because I remember during the draft I was so pissed that we picked him over Deshaun Watson at the 5 or whatever it was. We traded up and we didn't pick Deshaun Watson. I was so mad. Now I'm like,
that was a good choice. That was a good choice.
It was a great choice.
That was a great choice there.
Great choice.
Yeah, he definitely has that killer mentality, and I'll tell you what, love him, hate him, like they always find a way to win. They do. They definitely do. And I can appreciate that as a competitor myself. And so that's good. That's, I don't enjoy watching them win all the time, but they find a way to get it done. So, yeah. Okay, let's move back into real estate here. We're going to address some technology here, obviously, because
you guys are the pros at that.
The AI company we've been developing for, 3 years. And actually, Tyler was a big part in helping us start and figure out, hey, this is kind of how you're supposed to do it. And he was like one of the first people to kind of give us advice on what was needed and what was lacking in the real estate industry. So we're grateful for you for that, for, sitting down and taking the time to talk to us when we initially started. But you got a chance to see the software that's coming out in May at our AI. What was kind of your thoughts on that?
I mean, I just think it's amazing, to be honest. Like, I was kind of I was trying to like make an Instagram post like, hey, I'm on a podcast, and like I couldn't keep my eyes off the screen and like my jaw off the floor. I think that the tools that you guys are putting together for agents are some that no one else in the industry is doing. And like you said, you're asking agents firsthand like what they need and what they're looking for, and you're putting it all together in the total package. So it was really fun to watch, from the generated listing descriptions to the comps that you were able to pull so quick. The market data, dude, that level of market data you guys were able to pull that quick with just an address is like incredible.
I appreciate that. You've seen it from the very beginning. I mean, how much has it evolved from the very start?
So much. I mean, like I remember when we first met and you were like, how do we pull comps? What are we looking at when we pull comps? I was like, all right, here we go. Sit down. Let's go over this, because that's a big deal. Like making sure you pull. I mean, a lot of softwares will pull comps, but they just don't do it well. So pulling good comps, and like you are doing with the image comparisons and some of that stuff, is really, there's nothing like it in the industry. And so it's been cool to watch you guys just take the feedback that myself or anyone else is giving you and actually plug it into the software to give us a tool that's going to help us all be successful,
And I mean, and we appreciate all the feedback. We've sat, I think me and Isaac sat down and totaled it up one time, but we've sat with, probably asked and got feedback from about 500 agents in the process of building this, and like have compiled different ways and the correct way to do comps. Actually, Cloud CMA, as me and you both know, sometimes struggles with pulling the accurate comps. And so in our very first version that we came out with, V1, we actually did 30 comparables, and we were more accurate for sale price than Cloud CMA by like 20,000.
Wow.
Which was pretty nuts.
And that's what's crazy to think is that people are just posting those Cloud CMA links up there, like, get the price of your home right now. And it's like not even close, really.
But I
mean, sometimes, but not every time. Most of the time, you got to actually go pull the comps.
And I mean, what we're doing would take each and every comp that we do, it goes through like a 25-page algorithm of stuff to look for. It's analyzing, and it pulls the exact right information that it needs to. And we have multiple different data feeds feeding into that. And so
maybe we should tell people what a comp is.
Yeah, let's do that, because there'll be some people that don't know what that is. I mean, the agents will. But
all the agents will know what a comp is, but we're talking about a comparable property, a comparable sale. So we're looking at, bedrooms, square footage, bathrooms, how well the property's been upkept. Has it been updated? Is it modernized? Is it not? And then looking at other sales that have happened in the last 6 months around that same data to decide what your list price or sale price should be.
And then they're also going to have features in there, which I think you were crucial to helping us put that idea in there. that aren't listed on the MLS previously because they've made so many updates.
Yeah.
So how valuable do you think that feature is to where you can go in and tell exactly what has been added?
I mean, that's going to be it's really nice because then when you're doing the descriptions and you're adding that, trying to add that value, you know, on the property because of the features that have been added or not added, if you will, being able to just plug those in right away and then have them auto-populate is huge.
So I know you're really good at CMAs. You know, walked us through the process and stuff, but for the average real estate agent to do the correct CMA, how long do you think it would take them?
I mean, I know agents right now that'll spend an hour and a half on pulling data and like looking at them. Like you said, I can do it pretty quick because I can get in there and dial it in. But like, there's some agents that will spend hours trying to pull the data, look at it, try to justify a price, if you will. And you know, the hardest thing for us is that we're not just trying to figure out a price and justify a price. We're knowing that 90%, 95% of these deals are going to have to come down to an appraisal approval of that price.
Absolutely.
And like, if that appraisal doesn't come in, it doesn't matter what you negotiated the sale price on. Now you're going to have to renegotiate that difference and figure out how to overcome the appraisal issue.
Yeah.
But that's the big thing we're trying to do, especially with the ones that are still selling over list price and multiple offers.
Do you think that the market has been messed up because of the inaccurate prices by real estate agents?
I don't know that the market's messed up because of any of that. I just think we saw crazy inflation in like 2021, 2022, which like, you know, I tell people 8 years ago when I started real estate, interest rates were the same as they are now. They were 6.5%. The difference is that there was only 3,000 houses on the market. Now there's 6,000. So we have twice as many houses with the same interest rates that I started at. And like the other problem is that like as from when I started in 2017, interest rates just went down and inventory just went down. So your demand just went
way up.
So I don't know that it was ever a problem with agents overpricing houses. It was just like, it was a fire that we just poured gasoline on. You know, just not that anyone did it, but like, you know.
Well, I mean, the demand is there, you know, but the supply isn't.
It's not, And that's the thing is like we still have twice as many houses on the market now as when I started. We have like a little over 6,000, I think. And we had 3,000 when I started, but like, it's still not enough, you know, and like everything, it's going to be a cycle. It'll come around eventually, but it's just going to take time.
I hope it comes around quick here because I'm looking to get some properties. So, you know, that'd be nice.
Did you guys sell that mini house?
No, we haven't.
Come
on, it's still out there. If you want to sell
it. You living in it?
No. No, I don't think it's not livable right now. I mean, I guess you could live in it, but got sheetrock.
You're just glamping in it at that point.
Yeah, really. At that point, it needs to be finished. But gosh, that has been a pain in the butt. You know, I mean, boy. I mean, if you want to take a shot at trying to get it sold, you know, it'd be great because we've been trying for a while. Actually, we've had it sold a few times. So we had it sold to some investors down in Oklahoma for like $50,000. Had it sold. One of the investors loved it, fell in love with it, came up, looked at it. The other one that didn't look at it is like, no, we can't make that deal. And I'm like, what do you mean you can't make that deal? So we've had 2 or 3 other people come and look at it, and they're like, oh, I love this. This is great. And then
just can't make it work.
It just falls through, you know.
Mini house is an interesting beast.
It is, you know. And so that's been a nightmare.
Yeah,
it really has. It really has.
We don't gotta talk about it.
Yeah, okay, that's probably good. I've had so many people text me. They're like, "You still have that tiny house?" I'm like, "Yeah, we still got it.
We still got it.
We still got it. Still trying to get rid of it." So I mean, heck, maybe I'll just finish it off and just move into it. You know,
we got a tiny house up here.
Yeah, come on, check out the tiny house. Let's get it sold.
Get it out of here. 50K, we got you.
Yeah, that's right. That was a fun project, but yeah, didn't end up finishing it, but it's good. So, okay, heading back in.
Let us sell you an unfinished tiny house.
Yeah, sell the unfinished tiny house. We're ready to get rid of it. Yeah, let's do it. So heading back into tech and the tech space for AI. I mean, what are your thoughts on AI? What do you think about AI? Just AI in general.
I mean, I think that it's one of those things that you can't avoid it anymore. Like you gotta, if you're still trying to fight against it, you're probably gonna lose the battle, sort of thing. Like it's just like everything else in life. You gotta evolve. You gotta adapt. You gotta improvise. If you're gonna be stuck in an old way, you're probably not gonna find new changes, kind of thing. And so I think that not just real estate, but every industry is gonna have some level of artificial intelligence adaptation and growth pains that they're going to have to go through. Yeah. But right now, I think it's the greatest tool ever for at least my job. And like the high levels of pollution and stuff that it gets into. I don't know about any of that, but it doesn't sound good. But again, I don't know how you stop the beast, you know, like you got to kind of tame it at this point and just try to stay relevant rather than defeat it. Because if you defeat it, you're going to be defeating honestly a lot of history too, you know, a lot of man-made, just historical, cultural, developmental stuff. So
yeah, it's definitely, I don't think you can stop it at this point. No. It's out of the bag. It's going to be, I think you're either going to have to get with it or get left behind.
100%. So, and that's where I'm trying to see and watching you guys and like what is happening with AI in the real estate market. Like what do I need to be doing to make sure I'm staying on top of my game and my business and stay on the forefront of competition. So
what do you think the effect will be for agents that don't take advantage over it?
You know, I mentioned earlier the barrier of entry to being an agent isn't difficult. You know, you go to a class, you pass a test, you go to another class. The reality of it is that it's already the barrier of entry, because the barrier of entry is low. You know, again, class, you have a ton of us. Yeah. You know, like we were talking about earlier, there's 13. So like, if you're not gonna get with the program on AI and like the future of just life in general, then you're just gonna get left behind. Yeah. And I don't even know what the stat is, but there's a huge number. Like the majority of real estate agents aren't successful. Most of them get out of the business, don't keep their don't renew their license after 2 years because they're not working. You know, they're not selling houses, and it's not easy. You know, like I said, the barrier of entry is low, but then once you get in, you actually got to work. You know, you got to show up. You got to go to the open houses. You got to knock on the doors. You got to do the things that no one else is doing to be successful. And I think AI is just going to be another one of those things. You got to do the things to be successful that need to be done to be successful. And if you're not going to do them, then you're going to get left behind. Yeah.
That's a great point. And actually that was going to be my next question was, what's your advice for real estate agents that are just now starting?
So my advice would be the same advice. I mean, I didn't really get it, but I was lucky enough to have it. And it's, who was your guest last week?
Dan Hartman.
Dan Hartman, yeah. He mentioned it. I watched that episode. He mentioned getting a mentor. Yeah. You know, getting someone, like I said before, I was lucky enough to have Greg Coons, who was able to just go, hey, he actually took me off the team. So I joined a team, and then 3 months later got a bill from this guy. And I was like, dude, what's this? I've shown him one house in 3 months. Like,
and he billed you?
Yeah. That's how you know, some of these organizations. So I got a monthly bill because he said he'd cover my first 3 months, but I thought my team leader was going to cover it. You know, like that's the whole point of reason why I got my license. It was like I was just helping her out, you know. And so I went to him and I was like, "What's this?" He's like, "Get off the team. Let me help you, show you, plug you into like the right people to get you to find success." And I was lucky enough to have that. But I think that that's a big one. It's just finding a mentor, someone you trust, someone that has the same core values. You know, I talked a lot about the discipline earlier, and like the things that he taught me to do and, you know, I learned to do over time. But having someone that's doing it and is a professional that you value and trust, if you can follow that lead, then that would be my biggest piece of advice. I think most people don't find success because once they get their license, they don't know where to go. You know,
Yeah.
there's a lot of sales pitches. Get your license, get your license, get your license, and then you get your license. Like, well, now what?
What do I do?
Yeah. And a lot of people don't even know. It's like I got guys in class right now that are like, so how do I find a brokerage? I'm like, you just got to start calling around and asking people to, and seeing who you like and then seeing what cut they're gonna give you and all that stuff. But a lot of them don't even know like where to hang their license.
Yeah, it's true. That's great advice, is getting a mentor.
I think that's just good for life.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah.
Yeah. I have a few mentors in my life for a few different aspects of my life.
Yeah.
And boy, let me tell you, I wish I would have had them sooner
Yeah.
because it has helped me learn. The learning curve has just been so much less because of it.
Yeah.
And sometimes I'm pretty hard-headed. And I don't like to listen, like to, find out
Figure
on
it
my
out
own.
on your own.
And
I can relate to that.
I think
This
that's
thing's hard, bro.
That's
Let me
right.
tell you.
I think that's the heart of the competitor, though.
Yeah.
Is you just got to figure it out on your own. And
Yeah.
you're so set on doing what you think's going to work.
Yeah.
Most of the time, well, sometimes it doesn't work.
Yeah.
And so that mentor could kind of take away that learning curve. Sometimes.
Well, and I think, one of the biggest things I'm going through in life right now with just some friends and everything is just being able to ask for help.
Yeah.
When you need it. I think that's hard for a lot of us to do, male, female, whatever. It's just like you don't want to appear weak for whatever reason. We have this belief that asking for help is weakness. And, man, I've been trying to just really, when I need it, ask for help.
Yeah.
Like, hey, I just need someone to talk to, whether it's my dad or a friend or whatever, a mentor or whatever. It's just like, we got to get over this like mentality that we got to figure it out on our own. Like it's a lot harder to do on your own than it is when you're asking for help. Let's put it that way, as you were just saying.
I relate to you on that a lot. I don't love asking for help. And I'm trying to get better. It is because you got to humble yourself.
Humble yourself, dude. And you know what? Humility, I used to think it was always like thinking. I just heard this quote, not just, but I've heard it a long time ago. But it's like humility isn't thinking less of yourself. It's just thinking more of others.
That's good.
And it's like you have that mentality. And then like anytime I'm talking to a friend that's like, beating himself up over something, or him and his wife are fighting, or he took an L at work or whatever, and he's like in this guilt shame spiral that it's like, what advice, if I was in your shoes, would you give me right now? You would never talk to me the way you're talking to yourself, dude. Get your head out of your ass and like, come on, dude, you're a good dude. You didn't do it, like whatever the case might be. But it's like sometimes just getting over that hump and being humble enough to admit that you're having a hard time can be like, it's hard.
Yeah.
It's hard.
Yeah. That was a great point that you made, is that, you would never talk to somebody else the way that you talk to yourself.
Yeah.
And actually I can relate to that so much, because I kind of had an instance yesterday where I was really upset because I messed something up and I was just beating myself down. And, thank you for that, because the truth is I wouldn't tell one of my friends.
Yeah. You'd be like, come on, dude, you got it. You're all right. Like, come on, you made a mistake or whatever the case might be. Let's get through it together. Let's get over it. Like, but like, we're our biggest critics.
We are.
We're our biggest. And again, that might be a little bit of the competitive side of us that not everyone has, but like, that's what I tell people is like, you want to tell me I did a bad job? I can tell you that I've told myself 100,000 times over that I did a bad, like I don't need, but like 90% of people out there aren't going to tell me I'm doing a bad job. Most of them are going to tell me they're proud of me, so I'm like, why am I talking to myself this way? I would never tell my friend that, he needs to get his head out, come on.
I hear you. Yeah. It's definitely a lesson that I feel like is valuable to learn faster. But it's also like you have to constantly work at it, I feel like.
Oh, dude. I mean, that's just life in general, bro. You're, it's like what do they say? It's not the destination, it's the journey.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know, that's life right there. It's like,
Truth.
you got a journey, bro.
Yeah.
And you got to go after it, and you got to tackle it every day, and you got to figure it out, because you never know when you're going to get a curveball of something that you can't control, you can't fix, you know, like, but you got to deal with it.
Yeah.
You know, you got to keep going.
Absolutely.
And I think that's the hardest part is when you get the ones that you can't control.
Yeah.
You know.
Oh, those suck. There's a lot of stuff in life that you can't control, you know. How do you handle that?
Well, the only certainty we all have in living is that we're going to die.
That is true.
That's the only certainty
everybody's gonna
we
die.
have.
Everybody is going to die.
So maybe it's a little bit of YOLO. I don't know. It's about the whole, again, I think it goes back to your core values and like what you value as an individual or a human being and what you want out of life, you know. Real estate agents can be known for being like really greedy or like, you know, I remember when I got my license having that kind of mentality of like, dude, a lot of people don't have good opinions about real estate agents.
It's true. It is true.
But I was like, we're going to change that. You know, we're going to be the man behind the sign. But again, it goes back to those core values of like honesty, respect, you know, loving yourself, treating everyone else the way you want to be treated. It's like the basic principle of life. But like, for some reason in our culture and our society, that's really hard to do right now. We've got so much division. You know, I had to quit going to church because the people that were the least loving people were the people at church. Like I know I hate to say it, but like I had to like I was like, dude, I'm trying to love you guys and you guys can't even love the homeless guy outside that you told me to love. Like,
man, that's a whole nother discussion.
I know.
We could go way down that because I am with you. The most judging people are those people.
Well, and I think it's the most judging people are just people that are extremely certain that they're right.
Yeah.
You know, whether it's Christians or Jews or Islams or whatever. It's like when you are so set on being, or universalists, like when you're so set on your opinion being right, that means you can't be wrong.
Yeah.
And so then in order to not be wrong, you have to start judging people. And like, that's where it just gets all twisted. It just gets all messed up. Yeah. But again, I think you look at like the highest level of any of those religions or belief systems, and it's like the most of them are pretty universalist when it comes down to like being patient, meditating, slow to anger, loving. You know, it's like, why is that so hard? Again, but we live in a culture that's so fast and things are being thrown at us. And I mean, even going back to AI, it's like there's got to be balance. You can't like just be stuck in it all the time, or your reality is not going to be reality. Yeah, you got to be able to pull in, draw back in, pull out. You know, whatever the case might be.
Yeah, absolutely. So as we kind of wrap this up, I think we're pretty close to the 30-minute mark now, aren't we, David? 45. Okay.
45?
As we wrap this up.
David just over there chilling. Like.
They go quick, man. They go quick. But as we wrap this up, what would you say, how can people reach you and work with you? And then two, what would be your sales pitch to working with yourself?
So you can reach me at 816-716-6762. It's my cell phone.
We'll throw that up on the screen, too.
You can also email me at Tyler, Tyler, St. Louis at remax.net. STLUIS, no period, no space. That's probably the hardest part about my job is being a real estate agent in Kansas City with the last name St. Louis.
Yeah.
It's not ideal. But my sales pitch would just be, also you can follow me on Instagram, SweetLou1111, and Facebook, Alethea Homes Group.
Nice.
But my sales pitch would just be, and this is what I tell, actually, my sales pitch is just interview your agents. I'm just going to educate some people right now.
Good.
If you're trying to decide, you've got multiple friends that are real estate agents, don't treat them any differently than you would any other profession. Sit them down and interview them. Ask them what their processes and procedures are on how they run their business, whether it's buying or selling. And then after you've interviewed all of them, decide which one you want to use and tell them all the truth, you know, of why you know, because what that's going to do is if that person has a backbone, they're going to learn from that experience and get better.
Yeah.
What I hate is when I don't even get the interview, you know, and then I hear about a horror story of someone that worked with an agent that was not good because, you know, if you're going to hire someone to do anything else, you would get multiple quotes, right?
Absolutely.
You would interview multiple people.
Absolutely,
like,
you would.
If I sit down with you and we interview and you don't like the way that I operate or don't believe in my core values or the way I do business, you're not going to hurt my feelings. But what I don't want to hear is about the horror story that you had the first time because you didn't use me, you know, or whatever the case might be.
Yeah.
Because it is a big investment and there is a lot of details that go into it. And the process is not complicated, but it's not easy, you know. So you just want to make sure you have someone you can trust.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
I think I'm a pretty trustworthy guy.
Yeah, I think you are. I think you are. So if you want to work with Tyler, reach out to him. We'll put his stuff up on the screen, and we'll also put it in the caption. So Tyler, thank you for being on episode 2, and it's been a pleasure. And yeah,
Yeah.
thanks.
Thank you, brother.
All right.
Good to see you.
Good to see you too.